got half an
Okay.
hour to do your presentation and then go to bed.
All right. Fantastic. And people can hear me? Can you hear me, people? Humans?
I can hear you. Okay, people in the Twitch room, can you hear him? Okay, we hear everyone.
Okay.
That's great.
Yay.
Start your.
Although I don't see subtitles on the Twitch.
You have to hit the closed captioning button in the Twitch
Okay,
interface.
so
Yeah.
I don't have the Twitch.
It's a the
Oh,
captions in Twitch are being shown through an overlay, if that makes any technical sense to you. So you have to hit the closed captioning button, and then you will see the subtitles like that.
I am looking for the closed caption button. I don't have it.
Okay, well, I guarantee you the captions are working. Just trust me on that one.
Okay.
So
All
start your
right.
talk.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Hello, everybody, and thank you very much, Kim, as well, for organising this. And we've fixed a technical glitch that would have affected everybody for the rest of the day. So it was really good that we got that sorted. Um, it's great. So my talk is on a day in the life of a cyber nerd, and I'm the cyber nerd, and I am pretty well gonna run through a typical day, um, and I'll do it fairly quickly. But essentially, in the cybersecurity realm, we have a number of different roles, from consultants, engineers, architects, responders, investigators, and analysts, and they all play different um, parts in a day-to-day cybersecurity or security operations center. And my day would typically wake up around about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I would generally roll out of bed and have a look at my Splunk app on my phone and see that everything's sorted and I don't have to worry about anything, which is kind of nice. Um, and then I would do the normal home kind of tasks and head off into work, where we would probably grab a coffee along the way, and we have a little bit of a handover from the evening team to the morning team, or the daytime team. And after the handover, I usually run and get another coffee. There's not a heck of a lot of stuff that's happened overnight, if I'm lucky. So it'll just be some brute force attacks or some script kiddies having done something. The daytime approach is generally looking at insider threats a lot more, and also spear phishing and those kind of attacks. We have a stand-up every day, and so for our security operations team, that's usually kind of mid-morning. Before and afterwards, you've got all the normal checking of your emails and your instant messenger type activity, everybody having a bit of a chat. It's changed a lot for operations now, with everybody working from home. And I guess we spend a lot of time on Splunk. And one of the reasons why I really wanted to talk about Splunk in my role is because it's a great opportunity for autistic people to showcase their super talents and their skills. And it's a really simple system to be using. So Splunk is essentially a log monitoring system. And originally, when I thought of putting this together, I was going to show some usage of Splunk and show how we could see an attack and within Splunk. But with the screen sharing options being a bit limited, I thought it would be better to talk about a few things. also, whilst I do remember on the screen side of things, my background is the Aurora Borealis, or the Northern Lights. So if you're just wondering what it is behind me, that's what's going on behind me. Then the main areas of Splunk that we use regularly, I mean, we use a normal, just a Splunk Enterprise Edition. We also have a cybersecurity special version, which is called Enterprise Security. And we also have user behavior analytics, and we have Phantom, which is a automation orchestration. So it stands for SOAR. SOAR is security, orchestration, automation, response. And those packages work together really well. They are taught about our environment, and then they are allowed to kind of give us notifications on what's happening, and even develop processes around the well, as an architect and an engineer, we do different tasks. So the architectural side of things is designing workflows and automation and playbooks, and then the engineers are putting those playbooks into place. And that happens, those playbooks happen over in Phantom, and they integrate with things like ServiceNow or other ticketing systems, which is where most of a security architect's work comes from. So the analysts, sorry, not the architects, the analysts. So the analyst work comes from tickets. And we have a number of analysts that will respond to work, and they'll run, preliminary investigations and work out what's happening to an extent. And some of the bigger things will run over to investigators, and we've got responders. And everybody's got their own little part to play in the system. And I thought with autistic people, we have some pretty good superpowers. And I really wanted to sort of say to people that it's a really handy tool, and there's a lot of work available using that tool. And I got into using Splunk through setting up all of my home environment and learning about it on my home environment. And it was a really good way of upskilling very quickly and very rapidly. And there's a lot to be done with Splunk. So you can take the logs from your web servers, and you can take the logs from your routers and even your email on your local machine. So you can install a Streams plugin, and which is essentially a TCP dump off of your machine that will send certain parts of the traffic to your Splunk service for analysis. You can also monitor your system health, your CPU utilization, or your RAM. So businesses can use that side of things as well. So, but when it comes to security, like we might have a machine doing a strange number of DNS lookups, and we might go, why is that machine doing 100,000 lookups on DNS? And we can go, why is that machine actually a camera or a printer, and it's doing all these DNS lookups? And you go, okay, well, is it trying to exfiltrate data somehow, or what's actually happening there? Has it been hacked? Or you might have somebody who was the target of spear phishing, and the email logs come through, and you go, oh, that person's received something that shouldn't have. We can send that through to Phantom and have it remove the email or the attachments from their system. So I've forgotten to mention too, if people did want to ask questions, they can tweet at me. or you could. I've got the Twitch screen open on the other window there, so you can ask them questions as well. On Twitch if you've got any questions there. So I'll continue on with a little bit more of the rest of the day. My audio just changed. Is my audio still there?
No, you're it's.
If you've got any questions. Okay. So the rest of the day, I kind of go and have lunch. We do split lunches, so different people have lunch at different times, and they it's okay. We on Slack all day, chatting to each other. Most of our conversations are text. We don't do a lot of talking unless we get incidences. So for an autistic person like myself, it's kind of really handy to be able to relax with not so much talking. One of the reasons I wanted to do this today is I wanted to do a little bit more talking. And talking in a one-way conversation here is really different to what I'm used to. I can explain the beeping. You'll need an auto mute in OBS, just your mic. Oh wait, there might be beeping from a fire alarm around me.
You're good. You're good.
That could well be that there's a fire alarm.
No. You're
my neighbors,
good.
and they haven't changed the battery for a while, so that probably explains the beeping a little bit better.
No.
I'm really sorry. I've tried. I muted my Zoom.
No. Asher.
No.
Asher, you're good. You're good, Asher.
Okay, I can hear you.
No. Just continue your talk.
Okay, so I'll keep going. I'm told that my audio is fine. Thank you. Got thrown again there. Okay, so continuing on with the day, after lunch, we usually do a bit of a meeting on Slack again, and come back in, see where things are at. During the daytimes, we get a lot more insider threat kind of monitoring. So where people have received spear phishing emails or those types of things. And of course, we just generally have to monitor staff for anything where they might have downloaded an attachment and told the antivirus package not to block it. And so even though the antivirus package pops up on their screen and they're like, oh, you know what, this is a virus, and the user says, oh, I really want this program. So they run it anyway. And we get an alert telling us that that's happened, and then we can pick up the phone and ring them. Or we can use the automation system to log into their computer and delete the attachment and watch them download it 4 or 5 times before we bring them up and tell them off. So we can have a little bit of fun when we're at work, and it's always interesting. We generally speaking enjoy sorry. With a general day on Splunk, we would do a lot of searches, correlating of data between different logs. So we get data from many sources during a day, whether it's the firewalls, the routers, it might be the Active Directory services, it could be the AAA logs off of individual services, the email logs, the web proxies, the CASB, all of these different kind of services feed data into our Splunk environment, and then we run that into Splunk Enterprise Security and Splunk User Behavior Analytics. And the User Behavior Analytics is there for telling us about users. So it's a really interesting idea. You've got a user that is going and looking at all of the different job websites every day, and they haven't done that, and they've been with the company for 11 months or 10 months maybe, and they've never really gone to the job websites before. You can start to think to yourself, why are they looking at jobs? So the risk of those people trying to perhaps steal corporate data can go up, and user behavior analytics can tell you about that on your own users. So even though they are legitimately allowed to go and look at the websites, it's out of character action. So at the same time, the HR people, they might be looking at those job websites every day, and it's not out of character for those people. So you can teach user behavior analytics software, or the UBA agent for Splunk, about your business units and your teams and what's normal behavior and what's abnormal behavior, or what's acceptable, unacceptable. You can monitor for the files getting written to USB hard drives, or you could go, oh, that's unusual behavior, or that's not unusual behavior. And then users themselves get an increased risk rating, and that happens automatically. And then based on those risk ratings, if users do something, then your enterprise security environment can give you an alert to say, hey, this is out of character for the business unit, and it can start to find those outliers for you. So Splunk does a pretty decent job of kind of helping us in the security realm of doing our work. We have to pay a lot of attention to it, and we really have to listen to it, but it's got a lot of power there. And it's pretty nice to be able to use, and it's really fun to use in a big environment. And I think that's one of the really enjoyable components of using Splunk is the larger environment. When I wanted to use Splunk and really get to know it, what I did was I got my own server which I was running, and I had Postfix installed, and I was doing my own mail service on my own web server, and I just piped all the data into Splunk. So I set up the forwarding agents on those servers to send data to my Splunk server, and then I started listening to what it was doing, and I got all of the environment variables off of the servers as well. And then I started to listen to other things like the AWS environment was able to feed into my Splunk, and just going through that process of setting it all up and setting it up to go into separate indexes or separate like search buckets kind of thing, trying to configure some different permissions and different usernames so that I could pretend that I was just a web person and I only wanted this virtual host in my viewings, so I could separate out my environment. It was a really good way of learning all about Splunk. And then running Nmap against the environment was also pretty handy because I started to see what would happen. So I changed my AWS environment over to allow my home address to forward all traffic and to my web server. And then I started doing like penetration testing against my own box. And I saw a lot of noise really quickly in Splunk. Well, so when you run Nmap, you got the first 1,024 ports there, and you know when they start to hit your server, you'll get noise in your firewall, and then you've got all the other services that you can have open as well. It creates a lot of extra traffic, but it creates a lot of noise. So Splunk was a really handy toy for looking at the noise that hacking attempts can also have. And what I also enjoyed was trying to do some SQL injection and seeing how that came out of Splunk and what search criteria I could put into Splunk to really see that. Now, Splunk has a few options to do live monitoring, as well as to do just searches after the event. So you can get alerts through notifications, either within your environment, or you can have those sent out and emailed off to you. And I just found it really a lot of fun to be able to use it, and to see when I was doing my hacking against my own boxes, like, yeah, I got a password, but I want to see if I can get in without that, right? So I generally really enjoyed that type of behavior and seeing it from both sides. And I would really say if somebody else wants to look at getting into a job with Splunk, there's a lot of employment opportunities there. And when you search the job boards, you'll notice there's a lot of jobs using Splunk, and they pay fairly well most of the time. So get a home environment or a Raspberry Pi or 3 or 4, set up some virtual machines and have a look at how it all interacts, and see running Kali on one machine and then running your web server on another machine, and maybe open up your DNS and your web server and put an FTP and a telnet and a SSH all on the one box. So it's a pretty open box for attacking, and then have a really nice go at that. There's a lot that can be done in there as a learning tool, and when you get to using it and configuring it, you learn a lot more about it a lot more quickly. And then I guess the other thing is with Phantom, the automation system, it's all Python, and so you think to yourself, I'm going to need to know Python to use Splunk Phantom, but you're not. It's got a really good GUI, and it's in a web page, obviously, but it's fairly nicely laid out for non-programmers to be able to set up the basics. You've got to have a good mindset to be able to understand a lot of it, because it's not totally clear. But if you're familiar with what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to automate, it's a really handy utility. And it comes with a lot of playbooks. And I think that helps with a lot of working out where you want to be as well. And that's probably another part of Splunk that was really interesting, is how many searches and how many things it comes pre-configured to be able to do. So when you look at downloading some of the apps for Splunk, they have one called Enterprise Security, which is something that's fairly self-explanatory, but it has a lot of OSINT, open source intelligence kind of material just built in, baked right in. It's got a lot of geo-IP databases and things available, so you can see where your things like visually as well. I've kind of really enjoyed it, but I want to open up to some questions if we have any questions. I see MCNE65 likes Splunk, and it's cool. And Brian is also a little bit interested, so thank you both very much. Does anybody have any questions there, either on Twitch or on Twitter for us? I'd love to have a question, please. So I did want to also mention, and I kind of forgot earlier, the charities that we're trying to raise some money for, which was the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, the Autistic Women and Non-Binary Network, and the Council of Canadians with Disabilities. And I know that Kim mentioned all of that a little while ago. So I'm just really hoping that we can raise a few coins there. Yeah, that would be really nice. I'm in lockdown version 2.0 here in Melbourne in Australia. And it is quite nice. When lockdown happened, a lot of people freaked out. And when I went outside, I was really, really happy. It was nice and calm and quiet, very relaxing. And I gotta say, Melbourne's done a good job of locking down, and it's nice and quiet out there. And I really enjoy going for a walk in the city now. And it's a great place to go and get my exercise. And I live near the river, so I'll go for a walk along the river, and it's really nice. And I think by way of the benefits of lockdown for autistic people is huge. At least I'm finding that. I really, really enjoy that. Kim?
Yeah, so
do you enjoy lockdown?
My audio is fully on. I am on entirely the different side of the globe, completely different hemisphere-wise. I like to think of Canada as being the Australia of the Northern Hemisphere, and Australia as the Canada of the Southern Hemisphere. And both countries in the British Commonwealth in similar ways, with equally brutal treatment to our respective Indigenous people. A shameful
Very
legacy.
much so. Very much so. It's quite embarrassing how Australia treats their original people. Our Indigenous people are treated really poorly, and historically have been treated really badly as well. And it's horrible.
Yeah, but I mean, I really enjoyed your talk. You talked about some issues related to NMAP, and that got me thinking that I just finished writing a book about penetration testing with Philip Wiley. So that's going to be published by Wiley Press probably toward the end of this year, beginning of next year. And Phil Wiley, if you happen to be in San Antonio right now, San Antonio, Texas, USA, he is giving a talk on the Pen Tester's Blueprint at that event today. So I'm doing a cybersecurity event, and he's doing another cybersecurity event. But the Pen Tester's Blueprint is the title of the book that we collaborated on, which is based on his curriculum.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
So this has been a really good talk. I really want to apologize to viewers about the technical F-ups on my end as well. That's
all right.
But it's really it's a great time in Toronto right now. In Toronto, it's 11 a.m. But in Australia, it's probably midnight. Well, at least Eastern Australia.
It's 1 a.m.
It's 1 a.m. Yeah.
1 a.m. now. It's definitely bedtime for me.
You gotta go to bed. It seems like you have a really loving partner. That's good. And
I've really appreciated it. Thank you very much for putting this together as well. It's really cool.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And all of this is being recorded, so you can enjoy the rest of the presentation later.
Thank you.
And